I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Empower.
Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Join us on this week's Wrap podcast, where we have a look through last week's games in the URC for the Welsh sides. We take a look ahead at what's to come, including a massive game between Scarlets and Ospreys. And we have a little chat about that whole 3-region question. What is it? Why is it? Why will it not go away? And what do we do about it? Let's get on with the show. You're listening to Wrap, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrap Podcast. A little bit of a change this week. Sitting in as normal is Harley and Nick. Good evening, gentlemen.
How you doing?
And down in the bottom corner, well, sometimes this flips around on the screen and I go down in the bottom corner and it ends up in a completely different place. But sitting in for Jamie tonight is new man Dan. Good evening, Dan.
Good afternoon, chaps. Thanks for the invite.
It's a pleasure to have you on board, mate. Pleasure to have you. So just frame why you're sitting in for Jamie, because we've been kind of like mooting around this in the background for a while. So me and Jamie have been doing this now for 3 years, to be the end of our 3rd season. Sometimes stuff changes and you know, your life takes over and all that kind of stuff. So Jamie's looking to step down from this, from a Wrap next season, as will I. And so we're kind of looking for replacements. And Dan was first to put his hands up and went, please, sir, can I join your pod? Please, sir. So yeah, that'll do. So Dan's going to have a crack at it and see how it goes. And if Dan likes it, and if we likes it, and if everything's cool, that's what we'll do. But that will kind of chop and change Dan in between now and the rest of the season and all of that. If anybody wants to sit in for me as a Scarlet and as main presenter, then please do, because it's really getting on my wife's nerves with the amount of time that I spend editing and presenting and fannying around with stuff. So if you want to sit in for me, please do drop us a line, because that would be great. My wife would love you for that. So
just to add, you don't. It's not a requirement to have to put your foot in it every time you open your mouth, but you know it does add to Lee's charm.
It's just the amount of complaints I've had on YouTube this week. I got bored this week. I started replying to people on YouTube, and they were putting stuff on there that was like totally, you know, absolutely. Here's a point. I want to make a real genuine point about this pod, and I was just winding them up and taking the mick. Now they're going like, do you want people to comment on your podcast? This is absolutely disgraceful. This is no way forward. Well, shall I tell the boss? Shall I get the boss involved? Yes, I think you should. Okay, what can I do for you? They don't like. There's no sense of humour on our YouTube one, but they're all Irish anyway. It's the Irish guys got no sense of humour. Leinster supporters, see, no sense of humour. and I guarantee one of them will watch and comment. Right, okay, let's move swiftly on. Harley, let's do Dan. Give us a little bit of your background and connection and where the Dragons fit into your life, mate.
Oh, the Dragons have been part of my life since their inception. Back in, what was it, 2005, was it? Maybe three,
yeah, around that time.
Four.
Yeah,
in and around that time. And I was fortunate to be part of the first ever academy down there. With the likes of Lewis Evans, Shanksy, Ben Flower, who went on to play for Wigan, Gareth Moore, later of Scarlet's fame. Good boy, Gareth. Talented rugby player, and those lot. I played age grade rugby through the Dragon system then at 16s, 18s, and 20s. Before going off to, believe it or not, over the bridge to Clifton, as is the site. I was maybe a trendsetter there. But I don't think I'd have got any GCSEs if I'd have hung around in Nantiglow Comprehensive School for much longer. So it was purely an academic decision. And I'm just a Gwent rugby man, really. I coach in the area still. At senior level, coach my boys under 10s team at a different club. And he's Dragons mad as well. The amount of Dragons kits and clothing, etc., that he's got in his drawer and that he wears every weekend is through the roof. So yeah, that's my connection really to the Dragons, and to Gwent, probably more so than just the Dragons, but to Gwent rugby as a whole.
So did you coach your boy at under sevens? Did you coach him right from first?
Yeah, I got roped into it at Tots, where they are like crawling through tubes and jumping over hurdles and, capture the flag and robbing, foam balls from the nest. And we're currently sat at under 10s, where we're just introducing rucking, and they started tackling last year and stuff like that. And this, and I think what I will say is that there's probably been a bit of a vacuum in rugby numbers around the COVID pandemic, but numbers are coming back. We regularly have 25 kids. We're capped at 25 kids. We have 25 kids at training and playing, and we go to some teams, some clubs where they're able to run more. So rugby in Wales, especially in Gwent, I think is definitely on the up and up. From participation numbers, and that's just from looking at it from the ground up. Numbers are good at lots of clubs.
See, I remember doing my first under 7 session and having to explain the concept of everybody running in the same direction.
That's it, yeah.
So see this white line at the end here. Yeah. So we've got to try and put the ball over that white line. We got to run with the ball and put the ball over that white line.
That's it.
And it's like running around in a carousel, and you go, where are they going? And we had a little our under 7s pitch. To be fair to the club, it was a dedicated under 7s pitch, but it had like a cage around the outside, a fence, like a 6-foot fence. And if you took your eyes off them for 2 minutes, one of them would be up the fence. They'd be trying to climb over the fence and do Spider-Man impressions.
I was just trying to get away from you, Lee.
There's a strong chance of that, Nick. Yeah, they were ahead of the game on that one as well.
And the concept as well at mini rugby of passing the ball backwards to move forwards. Oof, that's a tough one when you're 8. Yeah.
But they stand there and look at you, and you go, "Yeah, pass it." What do you mean?
Yeah.
This is bringing back bad memories. I used to be a primary school teacher, so I used to run the rugby team and so on. So it's I won't sleep tonight. Now you've told me, remind me.
Yeah, the PTSD will kick in. Yeah.
Harley's got all of this to come. You a couple of years.
Yeah,
Harley, you'll be teaching
signed
girls.
our daughter up for rugby tots after Easter.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
we're going to start with that. So that's going to be my Sunday mornings gone. I mean, you forget I was a club leader for the best part of 15 years, so I've had
it all.
Which sounds like a really long time, which doesn't sound that long, but then you realise I'm only 32. You realise just how long I did it for.
What you need to do is take a photo on the first day of each season and just watch how grey your hair gets season on season on season. It starts when they play rugby.
Yeah, it's into my beard now. That's
it's coming out in all different directions.
Coming out of everywhere. Yeah,
I'm getting away with it quite well because it started at my nose.
Cheers,
no, just moving off to get a slightly more pleasant topic.
Yeah.
I just wondered, Dan, do you want to give your clubs a shout out on the pod? So you mentioned it.
Yeah, so I coach senior rugby at Abbott Leary in Division 1 East this season, and we're firmly in the title race. 4 games to go. I think if we win all 4, we win the league, but probably need bonus points and stuff like that. So that's it's been a good season for us. And I coach Blackwood under 10s, and you know what, they're a great bunch of kids as well. It's nice to see. Obviously, you've got lots of kids in there that are athletically good and much bigger than everyone else. But to see the smile on some kids' face that have only just joined or has never played rugby before, doesn't come from a rugby family, is a nice thing. So I'd encourage you to go get coaching as well, Harley. When the time comes, don't just take them, get coaching as well.
I said I'm still trying to get through my playing at the moment, so I know I need a lot of coaching for that.
Right, let's move on and do a little bit of news desk. Harley, what have you got on news desk for us this week, my friend?
Surprisingly for WRU, apart from the big topics we're going to move on to later, it's very calm in terms of news. There's a few rumours from around, but the only thing sorted. So Joe Roberts has signed a new deal at Scarlet, which is great business. If people want to talk about it, we'll go into them later. Then in the short term, George McGuicken's signed a short-term deal at the Ospreys because, apparently they need 27 hookers on the books because they keep breaking them. Josh Thomas has gone to the Dragons because they need someone who can actually play 10. And then for the next season, Tane Basham's coming to Cardiff because he wants to win a game on Boxing Day for a change. And Harry Bedell is leaving Leicester Tigers for the Dragons.
Yeah, out of all of those, I mean, Joe Roberts is obviously the one that most people know. I think Harry Bedell is the name that people will get to understand as they go. So, Nick,
I think it's the most exciting bit of all that news. To be honest, I do agree. That's a fantastic bit of business of Dragons with a yet to be confirmed supposed signing of Thomas Young as well. That's a very good mentor up and coming player that they can share the boatload of, and it's a long-term deal, which usually means about 3 years.
I think
that's something to build around.
I think it's perfect for the Dragons personally, especially moving Tane on, because Tane I think is a bit more of a hybrid. Can play across the back row. He's not an out-and-out 7. And having Bedell coming in, what would he be, 19? He's 18, 19 years of age, his whole career in front of him. Thomas Young coming in at the other end of his career, like you said. I think it's 2 number 7s coming in. Could be a match made in heaven. Better balance across the back row. So watch this space. I mean, you need the rest of the pack to go with it as well to give him a bit of front foot. But yeah, watch this space.
I think the exciting bit for that with the Dragons is so Harry Bedell played with Evan Minto at Hartbury.
Yeah.
And in the under-20s, so we've seen kind of Minto make and Nick Thomas as well. All 3 of them were in the same side at Hartbury. They've come through Hartbury together. They've kind of drifted in and out, but they've been at Wales 20s. So we were talking at the start of the season about how the Dragons kind of build an academy and how they bring young players through. There's 3 players right there that are going to be senior team players for a long, long time. So yeah.
And I think as well, you throw Woodman into that, who's a recent 20s captain.
Yeah.
Harry Ackerman, who's just come back from his nasty injury, he's been playing for Newport in the SRC. Had a couple of appearances. So it's the age profile of the squad's getting younger, and there's some quality in there. So if they come back, I think the Dylan Lewis signing on the other end of that's pretty good as well. If they manage to bring in, there's rumours going around at Loosehead prop as well. Wyn Jones may be an option for the Dragons there. You're looking at the front row of Wyn Jones, Elliot D / the young lad Coughlin and Dylan Lewis. The framework's there to have a very decent squad moving forward.
You're still the Dragons. You'll find a way of screwing it up, mate. That's the
Come
way
on, don't puncture the balloon just yet. It's starting to take off.
At least give them the off season.
Give us your yeah. We'll win. We'll win in pre-season. Yeah, we'll pick up a win or two in pre-season.
Cool. And anything else on the news desk, Harley, for us to talk about?
I mean, the only thing really is talking about. I don't know how much got discussed last week, but Warburton's comments again, doubling down on wanting 3 regions instead of 4, and then obviously we've had the S4C debate, which I haven't watched. So we'll go on there. I mean, I can give my general thoughts on that because I wasn't here last week when I think we talked about a bit, which is soda bollocks. just don't like the union's making a huge deal of increasing funding for 4 sides. The reason that it looked like they couldn't afford 4 was because the union were actively cutting down the funding. And now it's brought up, you can't just, I mean, there's plenty of good points. Like, so, Dragons are now the team that's got to come under fire after it being the Ospreys for a while. It's like, well, they're all privately owned. They're doing an awful lot to build it and make Rodney Parade, it's, and stuff they're a viable business. Right. I mean, I get some fans there point of saying, well, actually want to be a rugby team first and then worry about the business side. But, they're actually building something stable. You can't just wind that up anytime things. I mean, the things that WRU can do and say as well, we're not going to provide you any funding. But then as soon as you do that, you lose competition revenue, you lose TV revenue, you lose joint sponsorship stuff. And also, like, the biggest club money earner is still Judgment Day. And you can't really do that with 3 teams unless you're planning on having 3 30-minute halves. And, one side stays on and goes through, and then whoever scores the most points in their two-thirds of rugby gets the crown.
And then at 25 minutes, a ref comes on and goes, right, whoever scores the next try wins. Off you go, and then we play from there.
And then when someone's really upset, they take the ball home.
Yes, and one of them's got to play in skins. Yeah, like the old days.
Can I just add to that? So it is right. I went to Lance Bradley's update for Osprey supporters about the new stadium, but he did touch upon some of the Welsh Rugby Union stuff. And in fairness, he was supportive of Aberdeen. And I think we've got to call out. There's been elements of misogyny and very personal comments about her, which I don't think is in order at all. You can criticise perhaps the speed of what things the union have done. Which I'm sort of with that to a degree about the lack of urgency, but it should never ever get into personal comments or misogyny. And he was supportive, and he was saying that the union are about to also announce an improved financial forecast where they've saved money on spend, and they're going to generate more income. So, as I say, we just need to hear it. I mean, we need details, don't we? But I do think that is important that we've sort of, and also when we talk about the plans to move forward, things like pathways and participation that Dan was referring to, you're not going to see those immediately. They take time, and you have to allow that. And the S4C debate as well. Gwyn Jones, who's always been an advocate of cutting a region, cutting a professional club, didn't go, but he's not challenged, even though Lauren is very good in English and in Welsh of asking the right questions in a very nice way. He's not explaining, well, what does it mean for the players for these regions? What does it mean for the staff of this club? What does it mean for the supporters? How is it going to be funded? Does it necessarily mean that if there was one less club, are they all going to get more money, and how much more money? So I do think that as fans, and we're not perhaps in the, people aren't going to listen to us as much as they listen to former Wales captains, that we do challenge it a bit.
Well, I'm gonna pick up on that point in a minute, Nick. But so Dan, I mean, you've just spoken about your boy coming through the system on the pathway and being a massive Dragons fan. So, this is a fans podcast, and your son is a fan. All of our kids are fans. What would it mean to your son and your team if the WRU took away, let's say, for example, it's the Dragons, but if they take that away, what does that mean for the kids that you coach at under 10, mate?
Well, it's an easy one, isn't it? Because already, and I think the Dragons are doing really well, actually, to backtrack on this, one of his little friends on the weekend, the Dragons have started hosting birthday parties. So you can go down the Dragons now, play like touch rugby, tag rugby, have a tour of the stadium, go up in the Bisley the stand and in the suite, have a look around, have your birthday party down at Rodney Parade. I think it's a great initiative, and it's bringing more young kids into the Dragons arena and making them Dragons fans. But if you cut the Dragons, where do you go? Who do you support? If you're from one of the Eastern Valleys, if you're a Gwent rugby man, if you're, it's quite a big patch now actually, because it straddles, Merthyr up as far as Rumney and all the way down through Bargoed and those sorts of places, all the way to the English border with Monmouth. Where do you go? What player do you want a Cardiff rugby player at your local under-10s presentation at Blackwood RFC, or someone from the Scarlets? You want to see your Ashton Hewitts there and your Aaron Wainwrights and people like that. We have got an affinity with these regions now, especially the kids, I think, coming through. They have got an affinity with these regions. Most definitely they have. There's loads of Dragons kits at kids' parties and rugby training and stuff like that. So if we cut one, where do we go? I think you isolate, the Eastern Valleys and what was the traditional Gwent heartland. Am I right in thinking we've got the most rugby clubs, most registered rugby clubs on this patch? And the history, I think, deserves to be recognised. The world's most famous front row come from Gwent. You even look now at Super Rugby Cymru. The Gwent clubs are doing really well in there. Newport, Pontypool, Ebervale, all playing their part, and all the way through even to the grassroots road to the stadium. You look over the last 4 or 5 years, loads of Gwent clubs in the finals. Abbott Laird have been there previously. Bargoed have been there. Nanty Glow, Crumlin, loads of Gwent clubs. So it's not as easy or as simple as cutting one region away and hacking away at it. I don't think it'll work. You're going to lose a lot of rugby people.
Yeah. And if you look back to, it was 2005 when they got rid of they didn't get rid of
Celtic
the
Warriors folded.
Yeah,
the Warriors.
Yeah, Celtic Warriors folded. But what happened was that the debt that was held by the Warriors got bought by the other 4 sides, and then it was the other 4 sides that decided to close the Warriors. So that the Warriors is essentially Pontypridd and Bridgend. Where did Pontypridd supporters go? Those people around Pontypridd, precisely. Yeah, they went. Do you know what? No, I'm not having it. And they've been resentful of. I can't say that. On the whole, they've been resentful of the WRU ever since. Anything the WRU comes up with, somebody from Pontypridd will go, "You're bastards." And the reason is because you took away their pathway. If we'd have started with 4 and Pontypridd that have been allied with Cardiff, which is, makes more sense, then, all right, there would have been a little bit of to and fro to start with, but they would have still had that path. When you take away that, that connection, that when you talk to kids now, they don't say, "I'm a Scarlet supporter." People my age, we're Scarlet supporters. When you talk to kids, they'll tell you they're a Scarlet. And that small turn of phrase is really, really different.
Yeah.
Because it's not, if I'm a Scarlet supporter, but I might change. I might support Gloucester. I might support Bristol. I can change my support anywhere else. When you are a Scarlet, that's in there, and that doesn't change. So you take that region away, and you essentially rip out a little part of that kid's rugby playing soul. That's what you're doing when you say drop to 3. And personally, I think it's disgraceful. But Nick, I'm going to ask you about the S4C thing. So just give us a bit more detail on was Jiffy on there as well?
No, it was Gwyn Jones. Some old guy used to work for the Sports Council for Wales. I think he's associated with Cardiff and CF10. Somebody told me afterwards.
Hugh Jones.
Hugh Jones.
Yeah, we've had him on here, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the guy. Oh God, what's his name now? The guy who worked, who's the head of recruitment. He's from the West Wales originally, but he's head of recruitment at Bristol, and a former Welsh international.
Gethin Watts.
Gethin Watts. That's it.
Yeah.
And then a former Welsh international lady winger, who's Lynn, I think her name was. She and what they said, they concentrate more on pathways and sharing a vision and so on for the future, which all the sort of stuff we've talked about in here and definitely needs to happen. But Gwyn Jones's real main point, Carol Jones, sorry, was the lady, was about losing a region. It wasn't specific about who would go, but given his background, I'm fairly sure it would be down to two, and two wouldn't be even in consideration. And you can work out which two would and which two wouldn't from my comment. But he made a fairly relevant point around, South Africa have only got four. Well, they've only got four in the URC, but South Africa's got a lot of teams in the Currie Cup, which have got a lot of good players as well. So I sort of got that point, but he didn't explain anything we've referred to tonight or before about what would happen to fans, what would happen to pathways, what would happen to the community work that all our club regions do. The reason why kids, I say they're a Scala, or kids go to to train in the Dragons kit, is because the development officers are out and about in the region and in schools and so on. So none of that was explained. None of the explanation was forthcoming around, well, what would happen to the debt? How much better off would we be financially? And also, one of the problems we've had, and this is particularly relevant to Dan, I think, and Dragon fans, they've never, up until now, they've not been on a level playing field. They are now, and you could, but they've never had the money that the rest of us have had. So let's have a fair and equitable system. When money is increased, okay, you're going to make an argument when we get to the 6.8 million, whatever it is, in 3 years, 4 years' time, other clubs might have gone up, but they might not have, because everybody's got financial issues. So maybe Glasgow might not have suddenly 10 million. But at least let's get to a position where we've got more money, where we can bring more players in, to bring the Welsh qualified players, and there's plenty of them out there playing in England, bring a lot more of those back, and also have a couple of Stardust players in each of the clubs, which can add real quality and be role models for people like Hugh Anderson and Dan Edwards and so on. Those type of young, very talented Welsh players we've got, if they could have that type of quality player from overseas as well, all well and good in my book. And let's let it happen and make a decision in 3 or 4 years' time. If it's not working, then okay, then we need a serious debate about how we move forward. But it's time to move on. It's just boring in my view, and it's divisive.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, and ask everyone really. Do you think that, in a weird way, Wales have had a little bit of a restart, hasn't it? Since COVID, with the lack of funding and everything else, it's almost like we're starting from not quite scratch, because obviously we've got our pro teams that are set up, but it's not that long ago that Cardiff were having 1 and 2 people training for pre-season. So we have had a little bit of a restart financially, and Nick rightly mentions like the money at Glasgow, and you only got to look in the English game that the amount of money that they're paying people, Finn Russell being on £1 million a season, for example, or thereabouts at Bath. I think in a weird way, we're in a little bit of a fortunate position to have this restart again, because I don't think it's sustainable elsewhere. No. There's no way that the English Premiership for me at the moment is sustainable, as an example. I read somewhere on Twitter, I think it was in the rugby paper, that all the other clubs in England are looking to bail out Newcastle. I can't understand how rugby clubs that have got no money because they're in millions of pounds worth of debt are going to pay another club that's got no money. I can't understand it. So in a weird way, our restart may be good for us, because I think we're ahead of the curve in that these bubbles are going to burst sooner rather than later. I can't for the life of me see how paying Finn Russell £1 million a season is sustainable or good business, because you don't sell rugby shirts with like Russell on the back. We're not like American football or football here. You know, the Rec is an old-fashioned ground, so he's not putting more bums in seats. And as of yet, they haven't won anything. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think rugby outside of Wales is not sustainable. We shouldn't be looking at other models necessarily. We need to be looking at what's sustainable for ourselves.
That's a really good point.
What I will say is the local Greg's is doing a roaring trade since he's been there.
Yeah.
There's a queue every day.
Yeah, but you see my point. I can't see how it's sustainable.
When you look at Bristol and Bath, who basically they've got and if you look at these Premiership clubs, they've all got the rich sugar daddy, very much like the Pete Thomas situation at Cardiff. The problem is what happens when they are either bored and decide to sell it, which is what happened with the London Irish guy. He got fed up of dipping his hand in his pocket.
Yep.
If you can't find a buyer, they collapse. We were Cardiff quite lucky that Pelford captain came in. And because it's two Cardiff lads who are interested and they see it as an investment. But if you haven't got that, then you're in shit creek because I think did Newcastle owner was looking at selling again. I think Leicester Tigers as well have been looking to get some at least part owners. Yeah. Tony Rowe at Exeter has had they sold the stake in the hotel. Sounds familiar because because COVID cocked up a lot of things. I mean, the one thing I'm not too worried about what the budgets are right now. Like the actual figures on the board. What I want is there to be a plan and to stick to. I mean, as Richie Reese commented on, is either Scrum 5 or Scrum 5 Pod. But his last 3 years at Cardiff, he had 3 different budgets. Not just the 3 different amounts. The budget itself had changed. And that's how you ended up with like 10 players in training. Was because all of a sudden you got to the end of the season and your budget size said, you now have to pay full whack for Sleepy Falatu and Josh Adams. No, you can't end their contracts, and we will penalise you further. So you've got to find the money for them. Plus, we're taking 2 million. We're taking 2 million off. When you look at when the Premiership dropped their salary cap down to where it is now, they said you've got this for this much time, and the new salary cap only starts counting when players sign new contracts, and they could do it, and that's fine. And now they've got an agreement that it's going to go up. So all the Premiership clubs can plan. Whether they choose to go all the way to the limit or not is then their decision. The problem we've had with the WRU is they keep changing their cocking mind every 5 minutes. And they keep saying, oh, deal signed. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, well, hang on, what about this? It's like, just get something signed, make an agreement. If it's going to be a 5-6 year agreement, keep it as a 5-6 year agreement. Even if the finances improve, great. Put that in a reserve for when we get to where we had during COVID, where things didn't go so great, and just stick to that plan because
everyone knows
that's how you can plan.
Yeah, and in any other business, that's what you'd be, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've so strap yourselves in, boys, because Lee's gonna have a rant. Okay. So I got 2. You'll get used to this, Dan. Don't worry. Most people just ignore me. They go make a cup of tea at this point. But right. So 2 points. Yeah. And this is exactly what I said last week about Warburton, and Ron Jones at Scarlets. Okay, so these are board members who are out there actively debasing the sport and the structure in which their business exists. Forget that it's a club. Forget that it's a region. Forget all of that stuff. This is the business. You're on the board, and you are actively trying to undermine the marketplace in which your business exists, right? So if you want to do that, by all means do that, but don't do it as a board member. If I was on the Scarlets board, or I was on the Cardiff board right now, I'd have those 2 answering to whoever's in charge, was CEO, chair, whatever it is. But you sit down there, and if these are the views that you have, then they are not compatible with being on the board of this business. I'll take your resignation now, or I'll sack you this afternoon. Take your pick, because those are the options. Or that's not what your thoughts are, in which case go and make a public apology and change your stance. You cannot have people in senior positions like that in any business actively undermining the marketplace in which their business exists. It's batshit crazy beyond all recognition. So that's my first point. My second point is who is controlling this narrative, right? Is it's not the WRU, the WRU and the clubs. We speak to a lot of the marketing teams and the teams inside clubs when they tell us we're not allowed to interview players. Yeah. A lot of them do now. They love us now. But we speak to a lot of clubs and the marketing teams, and the marketing teams are like, no, we're working with 4. We like 4. 4 is a good number. We just need to build the positivity. We need to build the positivity around 4. And then you've got this message coming from outside of the WRU. It's not the WRU that are saying this. The WRU absolutely said we're going with 4. Clubs have said we're going with 4. Yeah. SRC fully aligned with 4. That whole rugby structure in Wales, 4. So who is it that wants 3 and why? Because it's not Sam Warburton. It's whoever's paying Sam Warburton. It's not Gwyn Jones. It's whoever's paying Gwyn Jones. Those are the people that are saying, I want 3. It's the media in which they work. Yes, both of them are out there complaining about clickbait. You know, soon as clickbait turns against them, then we can't have clickbait. This is absolutely, they're clickbait kings. They are paid. That's how they make their money. Sam Warburton's Telegraph column is mainly financed through online advertising, which is basically clickbait. That's where that money is coming from. So they have to be out there saying stuff that's going to get people to read their articles. So when you read those articles, there's little adverts down the side. People are paying for it. When you go to move off that article, a little pop-up will come and say, hey, have you seen our special offer? That's what's paying their wages. People are paying to have those adverts on those columns, and the more people that click on them, the more money those people get. So if we in Wales really want to start controlling that narrative, ignore it. Don't click on it. Don't comment on it. They've got 100 bloody click bots that will all go as soon as they put a thing out. And let's not forget, Wales Online is part of a group with Gloucester Online and Manchester Online and Newcastle Online, and they're all run by the same place with a central click bot. But as soon as something like that goes out, there'll be 10 or 15 comments. Yeah, they're not real people. Allegedly, I'll throw that in there. Yeah, allegedly, there's a bank of clickbots that will have 10 or 20 different names, all making slightly different controversial comments in there. So you're not the first to comment, and you can disagree with one of them and agree with another. It's managed, it's stage managed to make money for people in England that run Welsh newspapers. So ignore them. Let's ignore them. Let's take a whole month and not click on any of those articles. And I guarantee you they will move on to something new. Because 6 months ago, they were running articles about who's the next big thing, top 5 next players. And then that gets boring, and people and the clickbait on that goes down. So, okay, well, let's do a series on where are they now? Players from the 80s and 90s, where are they now? And that goes up. Yeah, this is and then we lose a bit of interest and it goes down. Right, let's find something new. And they're constantly trying to find something that will generate you, the listener, to click on that link and push through, and so that they can get advertising money. And that's who's controlling our narrative about getting 3 teams in Wales instead of 4. Because the whole rugby side of it says 4, and we're sticking with 4, and 4 will be successful in the way it was in the past. That's my rant over. Calm down, Raj.
What do you think the rugby? What's the rugby benefit though to go into 3? There's less of a pipeline. There's less pipelines feeding the professional game if we go to three. So I can't even see the rugby. I know some people will say, well, we push the talent into three teams, therefore making them more competitive. But we still got three pro teams then, haven't we? Some of these boys are not going to play. Some of them may be late bloomers. Some of the younger lads, for example, that are coming through the system. We talk about the young age profile of the potential Dragon squad. So I can't really see the rugby benefit to it either. I think we lose people.
And there's no evidence either, because you're looking at the two countries who've got two. How successful have they been in Six Nations or World Cups? Scotland and Italy.
They haven't.
So where's the evidence base to say having fewer clubs, fewer regions is going to suddenly improve the national team?
But could you though? And I heard Jiffy on Twitter today mention something about, instead of, could we add another layer in above our pro game and then below the international game, something like a state of origin that they do out in the NRL? Would that then filter the talent in? Would there be buy-in from fans? And you're then playing a real, you're seeing that, you can have it over a 3-game series over the course of a season. Pick the best players from East Wales and West Wales, for example, from all 4 regions, and get it on at the stadium.
But then
make it.
But the issue with that is you then add another level of, so you'd need more coaching, you'd need different players, you'd need different contracts, you'd need different sponsorship, you'd need different insurances. If you contracted to the Scarlets or you're contracted to the Ospreys, that's your employer. If you then have to add another layer in there, then it becomes much more confusing.
If that becomes like a representative thing, so it's run centrally by the WRU, you've got to be selected for it. It's a representative honour, like the possibles and probables of years ago.
There was a reason why that died out, though, wasn't it? There was a reason it died out, because it wasn't producing. It was a one-off game. It wasn't producing anything, and all that happened was players went at each other, had a massive fight, and half of them got injured. And I'm not saying the Moriartys were key of that, but
allegedly.
I remember watching Paul Moriarty absolutely.
I don't think there's any allegedly when it comes to Moriartys.
No, he did, but that was it. When you had those games, the problem, and I played in a couple, when I was in school age grade, and you look at your opposite number and you go, if I can crock him, my chances of making a bigger team significantly improve. He's the only opposite. He's the only guy stopping me from playing for Wales. So guess what I'm going to do?
I think it's also about player welfare. I think you've got to look at everything, and if that would increase income, but I think you'd then have to look at reducing some of the other games, maybe not have so many in the play, and you'd probably need a buy-in from South Africa and Ireland and Scotland, so they could have the equivalents, as opposed to perhaps one round of playoff matches. So there's at least.
Yeah, I just looked at it as soon as I heard Jiffy mention it, and I thought, I'm unsure about it, but then it works so well for Australian Rugby League. They have 3 tiers to their.
Huge.
But then what do they do after that? That's the thing with Rugby League. It's because the international game is just, it's basically Australia and Australians who've got slight heritage in another nation to play for. And then I think England as well. It's I know we shouldn't always just copy other nations, but the answer is there of what we could do just below the senior game, and it's the A sides. We brought in, we officially brought back Wales A for our capture team. I mean, a part of that was just for things like players, so we could have players like Callum Sheedy who weren't sure and didn't want to sign up. So the reason he didn't play for Wales under 20 is he don't want to sign off the Ireland or England route. And you are going to have players who do that. There's issues now with England academy contracts where they've got little clauses in which they're not supposed to have, but they do. Where if you get asked by England under 20s, you've got to play for England under 20s. They get first dib.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's why we get...
maybe that would be the answer then, yeah, because then you'd narrow that is sort of quote unquote elite playing pool down again into one team that are not quite at that international level, and that would bridge the gap. But I think we've got to look outside the box a little bit, haven't we? Just does go on.
What I would like to see, right, and we'll talk about this another time. We'll move on now. But what I would like to see is a sevens league. So through the summer, you have a dedicated every Friday night 7-a-side tournament, and that moves all around Wales and various different clubs and all of that kind of stuff. But we underestimate the influence that a decent 7-a-side experience can give, particularly to backs, but also you look at, particularly some of the back row forwards. A 7-a-side tournament would be absolutely ding dong, and it's one of those things that just has never taken off, but has never really been tried. So anyway, we're going to park it there because we could go on for years, and I have no doubt this is Wales. We will go on for years about dropping 3 regions, but I will reiterate my point. Don't click on it. Watch what happens on that. So, Harley, let's discuss rugby from last week. You are first up with your Cardiff review. Off you go, Harley.
So it certainly wasn't a classic game. When you say Cardiff versus Lions, you are not expecting 2017 as your final scoreline. You're expecting about double that. But it was great. I genuinely enjoyed this game. Well, we've just finished recording the Cardiff pod, and I said, weirdly, in that last passage of play, I didn't think we were going to lose, which is the first time I've ever had that feeling with watching Cardiff in a close game, because our defence, like if you looked at that defensive display and put it up against like even the win against Zebra, it's night and day. Like that, everyone is making tackles, everyone is willing to defend. You can see people wanting to get back into line. I think that move as Johan Mulder just absolutely nails the tight head prop, Niakane, who is a small dwelling. Is the only way I can describe the size of the Lions tight head prop. But it was just excellent. Callum Sheedy made all his kicks. That's always a sign that we're probably gonna win the game, or at least be close to winning the game. It wasn't a classic attacking display, but I just really enjoyed it. It was just nice to see one of my teams, putting it out on the pitch and the other things. And handling was awful, but looking at some of the shots when you actually saw the rain, it was like, wow, this is horrid. But I don't really have much more to say. That good attacking sense, our efficiency was better. I mean, the one thing I did say is I don't know whether it was on purpose. I'm going to give Jockey the credit to say it was. But we played the perfect game to play against the Lions, which is giving them ball, because they don't know what to do with possession. They really struggle. It's one of those things because they're a counter-attacking team. So give them the ball and they get confused. So whichever of you two guys are playing them when we go to South Africa,
us.
There you go. Kick the ball to them. Kick the ball to them and defend. Although saying that, given the display at the Swansea.com, I'm not sure that's necessarily a plan.
I think the set piece. Sorry, Lee. I thought the set piece got better as the game went on as well. First of all, I thought that was going to be a long night for Cardiff. The scrum was going back, but the two internationals that come off the bench showed that up for you, didn't they? And that made a massive difference, I thought, because they weren't getting the penalty count wasn't creeping up, and they wasn't allowing them into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we sort of did almost did a very South African thing if we finished the game with our stronger pack.
Yeah.
And going the 6-2 helps. I mean, Alex Mann at blindside, overly exuberant is what I'm going to say with it, particularly that first penalty he gave away. But yeah, so we got stronger. I thought the starting props did actually quite well. I mean, Littrick's fairly solid, but I've been really impressed with Danny Southworth. We were expecting him to be sort of our third choice with Ed Byrne being the guy when Dominic got away, but he's just got an injury early on. But Southworth stepped up really well. and he's getting better. One thing I have noticed about our props this in games is they're starting to adapt a lot quicker than I think Cardiff Packs in the past. If Cardiff Packs in the past lost the first scrum or two, that was it. But now you can sort of see Bruce Barrett's a fantastic example of that, where he starts figuring out his opposite man and is able to sort of keep in the game a lot more. I mean, it does help. I think someone was saying with the Lions, they had their fairly strong first starting pack, and the bench one was sort of their sort of reserves. Yeah, it was a good set piece, and 100% scrum, can't argue with.
I think you're just confused by the fact that you saw the game out, Harley, and it must be very.
It's weird, but
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do.
I mean, we could go on about some refereeing decisions. There were a couple of very odd. That yellow card was never a yellow card. I'm not even convinced Lombard touched the ball. I'm not even sure it was a knock on. Never mind a deliberate knock on. And I feel like the referee then tried to counter that by not allowing the penalty try, which was about as clear a day a penalty try you'll ever see.
Okay, we'll move on from your confusion, and we'll move down the M4 to Scarlett's. That frustration just doesn't even come close to that game. I mean, McLeod was superb. Warthog at hooker, I think, is just the find of the season. Van der Merwe at hooker, he's an absolute animal. And 71 minutes, we were 1 point behind. We were camped on their 5-yard line, and you're thinking, aha, here we go. This is it. And then we lose by 14 points. And it's getting really irritating now that the lack of composure, the lack of just seeing it out. Some of the decisions that we took were incredible. There's stuff that under 16s don't do. For the first kick of first real attack that the Storm has had in our 22, we stole the line out, lovely jubbly, and you go, right, okay, let's stick it down. No, let's run it. Let's run it from our own 22 when all of their boys are like nice and fresh and keen and on it and really up for it. Let's run it from that. And it's just ridiculous. Our kicking game was just non-existent. I think questions need to be asked. I mean, the first 3 scrums, we started the game really well. We were in there 22, scrum penalty, line out scrum penalty, and then inside 10 minutes we've given away 90 meters and 3 scrum penalties, and you're like, how? What is going on? These are decent players. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's unbelievably frustrating. Some of the rugby we were playing was nice, and then we went, shall we defend? And they went, no, let's have a cup of tea instead. Frustrating was the word that came out of that. It was interesting to see Eddie James at 6. That was a high point of the game for me. I'm a big fan of 6'4" centres and 6'4" wingers coming in at 6. I think that's the way forward for the world. But yeah, it's for me now. When Scarlets go forward, maybe not for this guy. I know Costello is due back. Whether he's back for the first Ospreys game or the second, I don't know. But he's due back, and I think we now have to show a bit of leadership and a bit of credibility and give Charlie Titcombe a decent run, because how that guy is still with us, I don't know. He's a top quality player. He's what we need. He's a balance between the two. He's like a big version of Costello. He can run, he can kick, he can handle, he can tackle. He's got all of that, but you wouldn't know that unless you've watched him in the SRC. So we need to strap a set on and go, do you know what? He's starting the next, say, maybe not that first Ospreys game, but certainly after that, he has to be on the pitch for at least 30 minutes every game. and let's give the guy a decent job. The only game Charlie Titcombe has started since he's been with us was Leinster away. That's the only game that kid has started, and he deserves better than that. He really, really does. So,
is this the boy that come from the Loughborough programme?
That's it.
That's him, yeah. Good player, yeah.
Yeah.
And he would have been, I'm assuming Snedden would have been his coach up there at that point then as well. So he's had a real good grounding, because that's a good programme, good league to play in, the Buck Super League.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame he's not getting more of a chance.
He was on the bench, and you're at 60 minutes and we're going, right, okay, he's got to come on. We brought on Elias that screwed up the first line out and then gave a penalty away, and you're just like, these are international players. Why are we not seeing Charlie Titcombe? So, yeah, frustrating as hell. I haven't listened to the Scarlet's Boys pod yet, but I can pretty much guarantee I know what's on there, and it was pretty much what I just said. So, go on, Alan.
It stands up to my theory that Dwayne Peel actually has no idea what to do with 10s. And I think I do think it's a problem. You don't have any, you don't actually have a fly half involved in there, or a senior fly half who could in your squad who can actually develop.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of that. And I look at how Rhys Patchell is performing in Japan at the minute and playing out of his skin, and you go, what? I know he's still playing, but as a coach, Rhys Patchell's a really good coach. He is with.
Was it? I think Cardiff Quins. I think he did a stint with, and they rated him really highly as sort of a coach, like all grades.
Yeah, and hey, let's move on. Dan, if my frustration of not actually getting in front and staying in front was high, I can imagine the Dragons' frustration of being in front and then not being in front is probably worse. How did that game go for you, mate?
Well, it's a frustrating afternoon down at Rodney Parade, to say the least. There's a decent crowd in as well. The atmosphere seemed good down there. And if you want to play Ulster, this is probably the season to do it. If you're going to pick up a win against us, this is probably the season to do it, I would have said. That being said, I've just been having a quick look at their team from the weekend again. McCloskey, Stockdale, Nathan Doak in the back line with Cooney coming off the bench. 400 Ulster appearances between them. Rob Herring, Tom O'Toole, Alan O'Connor again. Hundreds and hundreds of Ulster caps throughout the team. So it's an experienced Ulster team. But if you're going to pick up a win against Ulster and going in at halftime 24-14 up, you were thinking when you was a Dragons fan, yeah, we're going to do it, lads. We're going to get over the line. And lo and behold, it fell apart and ended 34-30 to the visiting team. I would have thought if you're a neutral, you probably enjoyed the game. It was a good game of rugby. I thought. If you're a Dragons man, you're in tears at the end of it. There were a number of positives for me, though. I thought Elliot D's line-out throw-in was good. It's always a bonus having Elliot D back in the team. His throwing in was good. And I think Hugh Anderson might be the find of the season for the Dragons. I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's absolutely box office.
Potentially find of the season for Wales, to be fair. I think he's been best.
He could be Harley, yeah. If you compare him to someone like Cam Winnett, who's got a handful of Welsh caps, I think he's a better player than Cam Winnett already. I think he's got the ability to beat a man. He probably lacks a little bit in the air compared to Cam, who's had an extra year playing senior rugby. I think he's got that X factor that the Dragons miss. Albeit it got him in trouble, didn't it, towards the end of the game when he got tackled and then turned over by the visiting tight head prop. But do you want to coach that out of him? Probably not. You want someone with that exuberance of youth. And you don't want to rein him in, let him go, let him play. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. And he was heavily involved in the first try. The one thing I picked up from the game as well is I thought especially in the first half, Dragons actually managed to get some gain line and some front football. And what I noticed was the way they were playing their pod shape off 9, they started to promote the ball carrier better, and then they're thrusting 3 people into contact. Modern day defenses, they want to get 2 in the tackle. So the Aaron Wainwright carry before the first try, he takes a bit of footwork, he goes into contact, but he's already supported by 1 person latching and 1 person taking out the second tackler. So the speed of ball was really quick, and I think that helped the Dragons a lot on the weekend. But if you're going to defend, on the flip side of that coin, if you're going to defend in such a passive manner, then you're going to struggle. They scored 3 tries all from close range, 2 of them from a driving line out, and 1 of them from a pick and go scenario. And I was a bit underwhelmed by that. I think if you're going to let teams in, it's too easy to get in with the Dragons in there. I think at the minute defense is so passive, and if you're struggling for physicality, I don't understand why they're not adopting more of a line speed. Get off the line, kill that space in front of you. Don't let these bigger teams have a run up at you. Try and control that gain line a little bit better. But on the whole, I thought the performance was better. They just can't get over the line, can they? And I do feel a bit sorry for both the players and the coaching staff, because I thought the performance was better. But ultimately, they didn't come away with a win, and they're going to finish rock bottom of the URC this season.
I thought Harrison Carey made a big difference, Dan.
Yeah.
And I think a big shout out to, Dylan Keller-Griffiths. He struggled a bit at scrum time in some games, but he seems to be learning on the job. And I remember watching him for the 20s. He's got a lot of potential. Very young still for a prop. I think he's only 21. And even Chris Coleman seems to be improving as a prop as well.
Yeah, I thought the set piece improved a little bit at scrum time. You're right. It was more solid than it has. They even won a couple of scrum penalties as well. The other problem I think the Dragons got, and you've probably seen this, is goal kicking's a problem.
Oh.
Will Reed, bless him. It is hard. You've got to step up there and be willing to take those shots in the first place. So credit to them for that. I was never able to do it as a rugby player. But we need a goal kicking fly half. I don't know whether the rumours are that Tinas De Beer is going to be the next member of the Cardiff second 15 to come up the M4 to join the Dragons. I think he's a good player, Tinas De Beer, but is he the goal kicking answer? Because if he'd have kicked, if Will Reed had only slotted 1 or 2 more of those penalties, the Dragons win the game. It's as simple as that. So that's an area for improvement as well, I think. And on the flip side, Ulster bring up, John, is it John Cooney off the bench, the boy who plays 9's a goal kicking machine. He turned into the pantomime villain at the end as well, didn't he? Where he took exactly 60 seconds to run the clock into the red zone before slotting his penalty in front of the sticks as well. But I think there are improvements from the Dragons. I don't know what you think, sitting on the other side of the fence, but I think there are improvements from the Dragons. And these signings coming in, I don't know, maybe it's false hope again, but I think expectation needs, they're not going to be a playoff team next season, but they should be starting to work their way up that ladder based on some of these performances. But you've got to learn to win. Winning's a habit, isn't it? I think the Ospreys have got that habit a little bit now under Mark Jones. They started to win, they won 5 or 6 in a row. Becomes a habit. It becomes harder to lose. You don't know how to lose. And the Dragons haven't got that winning mentality at the moment. So, yeah, you're just hoping it can change, because I can't see it changing now with, 3 away fixtures or 4 away fixtures left to play.
Yeah, that was your last home game, wasn't it?
Which, again, is weird planning, isn't it? Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah. I miss those days we used to have a home game, then an away, and a home and away. It just, like, you knew where life was. You knew you could have an injury for a week and then I'm available for the home games. You knew where you were back then.
So it does remind me of one of my favourite all-time Cardiff chants, which is about Nick Williams, is always take Nick Williams with you. Despite the fact I don't think he plays the away game for his last 2 seasons.
I don't think he trained either, did he? He was allowed to have every He was allowed to have a week off every week, wasn't he, Nick Williams? Just
I'll
to
be honest.
keep them together.
Given how he played on the pitch, you wouldn't say. I think Falato's in a similar thing where they basically. I think no, he sort of just runs on his own. He does team run.
Yeah, just
he
train,
knows. He knows where he has to be. That's
train
the thing
on Thursday and Friday and forget the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Right. So Nick, Dan kind of touched on it there about the Ospreys knowing how to close out a game. So I'm going to close my ears for 3 or 4 minutes, mate. You go enjoy yourself and have a chat to the world. Tell us how amazing the Ospreys are, mate.
Well, I'm not about enjoyed it. It's the craziest game I've sat in for a long, long time. It was just weird game. You know, Connacht are no mugs. They got the decent pack and they got some exciting backs. We started really poorly, and I thought, oh gosh, what's going to happen here? And then all of a sudden, it was somebody lit a touch paper, and we scored some fantastic tries. We do obviously go wider than we throw better shapes than we did. Mark Jones's influence is definitely there. And we've got players who are playing well, which also helps as well, doesn't it? Kassende's been a fantastic pickup. He's strong, he's good in the air, and he's got a good set of skills. Keenan Giles is playing well. Boshoff, another one, wasn't a star name, but comes in and does a really good job. Keenan Hardy's really settled down now and is playing really well, running really good cheat lines as number 9 and has kicked so well. And we had some good leadership from Dan Edwards. It was an understated performance from Dan. Kicked really well, but a couple of those passes when he comes up so quickly to the line and puts in some really both his left and right hand are really up there and show the promise that he's obviously got. Morgan Morris, a good game. We overplayed a bit in defence. There was a few things in defence where you think, oh gosh, that was too easy. What happened there? All right, they had a driving lineup which they took over, but I think we were probably in some cases the opposite of what Dan was saying about the Dragons. We were a little bit too aggressive sometimes, where we could have drifted a bit more, and we ended up giving them edges, which they took advantage of. Fair play to them, and we should have won much easier than we did. It was very, very tight in the last 5 minutes. I honestly thought we'd throw it away, but we held on. Adam Bird, big shout out to him. Guess, as we know, he's had a lot of stick over the years, but you can see what he offers to a team. And to go 80 minutes after being out since the second week of November in a game like that was fantastic. So, yeah, winning is a habit. If you'd said to me 5 points to back up the fantastic win up Glasgow, so 2 games where we've had 10 points. So we're most definitely in the race now to be in the top 8. Obviously need to win the game. Certainly our games against the Welsh teams, and perhaps pick something up in South Africa. George McGuigan, which we mentioned before, I'm sure he didn't expect to come on and make his debut. He's not a big centre, but a hooker playing at a blindside flanker. It was how we went. We had so many injuries, HIEs at the end. That did affect things, I'm sure. But yeah, just really pleased to come out of that. Hopefully, we're not too many serious injuries, but certainly 5 points, and we're very much in both competitions now for the remainder of the season, I think.
So the only bit I'm going to add to this, Nick, and this genuinely isn't taking a mickey, okay? This is a call to arms for Ospreys fans, and I've said this on your pod before. Yeah. So let's say that's 5 wins on the bounce, 4 or 5 wins on the bounce, playing impressive rugby, winning. 3,416 people turned up to that game. Yeah. So your guys were complaining at the start of the season that we'll turn up for winning rugby and all of this kind of stuff. You have to turn up to the game, guys. Yeah. It's all well and good sitting there going, oh, I'll watch them on telly. This is where you have to turn up for the game. And yeah, especially at this point of the season, and I know, we've spoken to the Ospreys marketing team. We know how hard they're working. We know that they're pulling out all the stops to get people to the Liberty at some point as a supporter, Swansea, Neath, wherever you are. You've got to go, do you know what? Okay, I'm just going to go for this one game, and this is the game I'm going to go to, because it makes a massive, massive difference to that. And when we get onto previews in a second, I've got a rough figure for how many tickets have already been sold. This is tickets sold for the Scarlets game. Yeah. It's embarrassing when compared to, that's how many people you've got at home when you're winning. I mean, come on. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to previews. But before we do that, if you are liking what you are seeing and what you are hearing, please do rate, review, and subscribe. It makes a massive difference. Check out some of our social media. You will see the first of our discount codes on there for some fancy pants stuff, like blokey gadget things that people like. So that discount voucher is on there. Going to try and add one every month, a new one, and see how that works, just as a way of saying thank you. So you get 20% discount. I can't even remember the name of the store, but it's on our socials, and it'll be on our socials again this week. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please do rate and review and subscribe. Lovely jubbly. Let's move on to previews quickly then. Who have we got first? So we got Dragons first on Friday night, haven't we, Dan? That's a short turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah, short turnaround, tough away trip. There's only one result, really, isn't there? I would have thought. I'm unsure of team status and team news at the minute. I don't know what sort of bumps we've picked up, but the squad's pretty thin as it is, as most regions are in Wales. But if we can get Hugh Anderson in the game early, and we get a bit of front football like they did early on against Ulster, we will cause them some problems. Surely the target has to be, let's go to Edinburgh. No one expects us to win. Let's go and get a losing bonus point and a try bonus point, come away with 2 points and see how that does. Let's go out to entertain and try and score some tries. What's the point in waiting to die? We may as well go and get it, haven't we? So I can't see anything but an Edinburgh win away from home, unfortunately. But I would like to see some attacking rugby and a little bit more guts to get a little bit more glory.
But just imagine coming away just for a couple of seconds. Just let your mind drift to a Dragons win away.
It would be lovely, but can anyone see it? Imagine what the odds are at the bookies, and this is why, and it's league rugby as well. You've got to look at it. Let's try and accumulate some points. Let's stick some points on the league table. You're not going to get near zebra, but there's no reason why, if we go and get the right people in the game at the right time, we get some front football, why we can't go and score 4 tries. These needs to be targets that we have, and ultimately we're already building into next season, aren't we? Because we're not in the fight for the playoffs. There's no relegation in this league, so let's go and try things out. What have we got to lose? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely. So that's Friday night. So the Saturday 3 p.m. fixture we'll come to in a minute, because that's Scarlets Ospreys. That's a massive game at the minute. We're going to skip a game and then come back. So Harley, your boys are on at 7:15, I think it is, isn't it?
25 to 8. It'll be live on S4C. Just to say that the Edinburgh Dragons game is also 25 to 8, but on the Friday night that will be on BBC Sport BBC Wales. All games are live on Premier Sports, but if you don't want to pay for a subscription, they're the best rate. And also the derby will be on S4C. Benton Cardiff, I think because we've won that Lions game, I think some of the pressures somewhat often get the results. When we're discussing it, expecting Cardiff to go fully loaded for this one, because I think if we can get a good number of points out of this and then hopefully get the win at Judgment Day and beat Munster at home, then it's going to take all the pressure off the South Africa tour that we should be near enough guaranteed top 8. I mean, the good thing for us is pretty much every team we're playing apart from the Bulls in the last round, or penultimate round, are teams we're competing for a top 8 space with, so really want to push there. Benetton haven't been on fire this season. They did well enough to get a win against 14-man Edinburgh. I never know how it's going to go out in Benetton. We always have absolutely honkers of a game there, but hopefully we can build on the momentum of that Lions game, take that big strong defence, bring in the likes of Slupe and Ben Thomas. There's going to be no Kieran Azaratis. He's currently in Egypt. So I think he's getting his week. He's getting his week off this week. But I think it should be a good game. I like a minimum of 2 points out of it, preferably a win. But I said I'm looking forward to it. I'm on a weird rugby high at the moment, so I'm riding it. I'm riding it until I come crashing down at about 25-10 on Saturday.
This is where you sound confused, mate. You're like, hey, there's expectation on a win. I don't know what to do with this. It's confusing me.
I'm on a Welsh Rugby podcast. I'm talking about wanting to win. I don't know how this goes.
Okay, so let's move back on to Scarlets Ospreys. This is now a huge game for both sides, Nick, where fortunes very much turned on the last one, on the not Boxing Day fixture when Mark Jones came in, and we were all singing or dancing at that point. You were then the doldrums, it was all kind of flipped over. It's getting squeaky bum time at the Scarlets now. I'll be honest, it's not a comfortable place to be, but this is going to be a big game on Saturday, and I'm being told it's somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 tickets already sold for that game, and that was yesterday, I think it was. So we've got this whole week, and traditionally Scarlets will sell between 1,000 and 1,500 on the day. So I'm thinking at least one of the ends will be open, possibly both. If we can get all 3,400 of your guys up the 5 miles. So yeah, it's going to be a big game. My message to Osprey fans is get your tickets early. Do not be disappointed. My message to Scarlet fans is you have to turn up. You have to turn up and watch this one. So, Nick, your expectations for Ospreys on Saturday?
I think we'll go off the up front. I think, provided we haven't got too many injuries, I think you are still susceptible in the scrum. Our driving line out wasn't great, but that's some fair play to Connacht, their defence of our line out. So so I think we'll go. I think we can get on top up front. I'm not expecting I'm not even expecting a high scoring game. I think it'll be a typical derby, tense, low scoring. Kicking will be important. Retaining the ball from kicks and so on. Defence on our part needs to be much, much better than it was last week. I think we, have the potential to win, but I've got a theory that neither team will win both games. Whoever wins on Saturday, I think will lose the following week, and obviously vice versa. I'm not being overtly negative there. I've just got a funny feeling whoever loses on Saturday will turn it around the following week.
So I'm quite happy to be knocked out of the European Cup. I couldn't give a monkeys about that, and I will very happily take this game on Saturday. I think I was consistent with that since the start of the season. This for me is, we have to break the mentality. We spoke a couple of weeks ago about the mentality of playing the game, and we have to break this mentality of squeaking it. We have to play with that confidence. It would help. This is what would build confidence. When I've got the ball and I throw it towards you, we'll call that a pass. I'll throw the ball towards you. You put your hands out in front and catch it. We'll call that a catch. If we could do that a few more times, I think the whole thing will go a lot smoother. I'll be honest with you. It just comes down to that confidence. We've had too many knocks, too many nearlies, and you can feel that confidence oozing out of players. And there's all sorts of rumours about players leaving early after the game, players leaving the changing rooms without showering and all of that kind of stuff. This is where Lee Jones has to come in this week and go, right, okay, let's set this back. It's frustrating. It's not great, but we can do something about that. we have to do something about that when we walk on the pitch on Saturday. The talent is there, the players are there. I'm really looking forward to seeing McLeod against Jack Morgan. I think that's an epic battle of the ages. I think that's going to be great. I would love to see Costello back this week. I can't see him. If he is back, he'll be coming on for 20. I think the crowd has pretty much turned against Lloyd, if I'm honest. He's not doing himself any favours. I think if Cardiff came in now and said, would you like to come and join us early? I think we'd pay his bus fare for him. He's not.
I've had a lot of those sorts of comments sent to me of we'll drop him off.
Yeah,
is the thing. Because they're heading back to back that way anyway.
Yeah, but it's just not. If we were winning, and if he was the guy putting us in the corners, and his goal kicking is great. There's no issues with his goal kicking. He's kicking out of hand. He just won't do it. We'll just run everything. So yeah, if we can get our heads in the right place, I think it'll be a close game, and it'll be one score either way. But I think there'll be enough fire in the belly at the Scarlets at the minute that will take us over the line. I expect at least 7 yellow cards. I expect, handbags, grannies coming on the pitch with umbrellas, go and leave my boy alone, and all of that kind of stuff. It's not going to be a pretty game. It's going to be intense. It's going to be everything you want from a Scarlets Ospreys game on that.
Is Max Page fit? Max Page fit, is he?
If he is, he's on the wing, and he needs to stay there.
I really like the boy. I think he's a good player.
I'll talk to you after.
Yeah, we're not allowed to like Max Page on this pod.
It's not. I've watched the guy play since he was under 10s. He's making the same mistake now as he made when he was under 10s. He's lovely when he's got the ball and running in a straight line. You challenge him in any way, shape, or form. And, the problem with Max is that we run off the highlights reel and we'll go look at all the good stuff that he does, and he's a strong, powerful runner, yeah, and he is quick. He's not the quickest, but he's a quick player. But what you don't see in the highlights reel is the options that he takes that are wrong, and his defensive capabilities, and those are the bits that I said a couple of weeks ago. We need to give the guy time to work on, and we need to be honest with him and say, lovely running with the ball in hand, but look at the 3-to-1 overlap that you had outside you that you decided to run and try and take the player on. Look at that 3 or 4 times. Look at the defence. So we have to give him the chance to go, right, okay, this is how I improve as a player. His attacking ability is there, definitely. But I think that's why he's going to end up on the wing rather than inside centre, which is where he said he wants to be. He's going to end up on the wing. The best position I've seen him play is fullback. Genuinely, he's got a hell of a boot on him. When you give him the ball, he will absolutely boot the leather off that ball. Coming into an attacking line in an unexpected position, he can absolutely spot a gap and hit it. And then his defence lets him down. So there's all of those bits. Yes, he's a great potential, but we need to kind of pull that back in and let him develop. He isn't going to develop anymore in the SRC. He needs to develop at pro level, but there is a fair bit of development that needs to be done.
I don't know, it sounds like he's got a lot. You've pointed out a lot of work on which actually I think he can develop at SRC. He just needs to work. He just needs to be. If he's not, is he playing 13 week in, week out in the SRC? Is he having to deal with defensive pitches? If his defense is weak, then you need to start throwing him in up against the defenses so he learns it. Because 13, you only really learn to defend by doing. Anyway, enough about individual players. Before we go into predictions, I just want to do an update on the Welsh Hubcap. Because it's been a while since we've had a derby. Ospreys have got 3 in a row now. I just want to go through. So at the moment, current standings are Cardiff on top on 18, but we have played 5 of our 6 games. Then it's Scarlets, who play 4, and they're on 10 points. Ospreys on 7, but I said they've got 3 remaining. Dragons have 2 games left, and they're left with 5. So theoretically, Cardiff, Ospreys, Scarlets can all win it. Maximum put, if the maximum points available, Cardiff come out the top because we're ahead at the moment. I mean, this is where losing to the Scarlets at home and that draw really cost us. We could have had that wrapped up by Christmas, but we didn't because we Muppets like that. So for me, I'm really hoping Scarlets win without a bonus point, because that just starts bringing down what we have to do on Judgment Day down so much.
You are the only person in the whole of Wales that knows this information.
This is because I keep a sheet running, and I have different scenarios on which teams would be in the top 8 based on what different bonus points, including if we did the single.
That's fine.
Yeah, the top. I do the whole sheet system. You'd be amazed. Scarlets come up very much higher if we went to a French style bonus point system, where it's 3 tries ahead. It's where you've got to win 3 more tries, but.
Okay, so we've had the bit about the hubcap where you're determined to win something this year, Harley. Let's do
it's the most
predictions.
important trophy in Wales.
Right, you're in charge of predictions, Harley. Off you go, mate. So the floor is yours.
Right, so quick update on the prediction league. Jamie had a bit of a stink around because he was too pessimistic. So, but he is still in the lead on 110 points. Then it's me on 105, so I've half that gap. Then it's Nick, who's sort of shot up ahead with some absolute fantastic. I mean, he denied me 4 points on the Dragons result by picking the exact same score as me, so we both got 3 points on that one. He's on 4. Lee, you're on 100, so you've now broken into triple figures now. So go you.
But I'm only 10 points behind Jamie. This is getting very kind of narrow in that middle.
We are emulating the URC.
We are.
That's right.
Yeah. So Dan is going to do predictions, but Jamie's given us his predictions. So Dan's predictions will just kind of be there. And if Dan scores more than Jamie, then Jamie will go, I love what Dan says. That's how it's going to work, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I can't allow that. I wasn't allowed to bring my pre-Christmas results in, but I'd be way ahead if I'd have had those. I predicted everyone within 1 point.
I'd have been way ahead if I go back in time, Nick, but you didn't submit them on time, so they don't count. And therefore, if you want me to use your predictions, it's 100 points to the losing team, which puts you on about 12.
Okay.
Anyway, so Jamie's predictions for this, just so we know, and we've published it, so we're not fiddling with it. He's predicted Edinburgh to win by 20. He's predicted Ospreys to win by 8, and he's predicted Benson to win by 6. I think Dan, as you're the guest, we'll let you have your predictions next.
Okay, I'm going to go Edinburgh by 15, but the Dragons will score 4 tries, so we'll come away with something. I'm going to go Ospreys by 5. Yeah, Ospreys by 5. I think
I've gone off you, Dan. I'll be honest. I'm
sorry. I just think
very knowledgeable rugby man, Dan. You've proven yourself to me.
It's the form guide, I think, at the moment for me on that one. Just the Ospreys are able to eke out wins, so I think it'll be a tight game. I think you're both right. It'll be a scoring either way, but I'm just gonna put my hat in the Ospreys camp on that one by 5. And I think Cardiff are going to turn over Benetton away. Cardiff by 9.
Oh, not that confident.
Yes.
No, I think that, despite their big budget and the fact it's basically an Italian international team there, I think Cardiff got the ability to go and turn them over. Why not? It's a big game for Cardiff. So, yeah, Cardiff by 9.
I said Dan is really impressed 2/3 of this of the pod here.
Yeah.
Right, Nick, should we go on to you? So starting off with Edinburgh Dragons.
I think it'll be high scoring. I think they'll throw it around both sides. I think 7-3 tries, but I'm sorry, I'm going Edinburgh by 21. Cardiff. There's a lot resting in this game for Benetton for their season. I think they will, and it's at home. I think they will pile out all the stops. They have got 2 very good centres. who I think they got the best Six Nations outside centre in Monticello. So I'm going Benetton by 12. And I think we will just do enough and we'll pull it off. Ospreys by 3.
I'll be honest.
I very much like the fact you've gone 1 point higher than Jamie on the Edinburgh to try and cheese the scores there a little bit.
Tactical.
Right, Lee, let's have your.
We set this up.
No, I actually added more, but I thought Dan's such a nice guy, I can't say it.
We set this up as a little bit of a fun way to finish off the pod. There's a bit of it's now it gets really, really like tactical and serious. Who's doing their predictions first and all of that kind of stuff. It's getting real proper nasty now. Right, I'm gonna go Edinburgh by 5. I think it'll be a tight game. I think it'll be quite a close game, but I think they'll eke it with a very controversial couple of decisions. By which point we can complain about the ref next week. Then Cardiff Benetton. Yeah, Benetton at home, best ground in the URC. I love the Benetton ground. It's especially when they do the panel. It's sunset, all of that. Love it. So Benetton by 5 on that one, and then Scarlet Ospreys. So, I mean, my traditional figure would be Scarlets by 1, but I'm not going. I'm not going Scarlets by 1. I'm gonna put them on the block. I'm gonna say Scarlets by 5.
Oh, I thought you were really gonna go for then like Scarlets by 30.
That's for me.
He's really thought about these because he's predicted the home side in the Edinburgh Dragons game by 5. He's predicted the home side in the Benton Cardiff game by 5.
By 5.
And for the Scarlets Ospreys game, he's predicted by 5.
By 5, yeah. It has a certain balance to it, Harley, and I know you're a fan of balance, mate. So
you know me, I like aesthetically pleasing numbers, which I haven't gone for. So I've gone for Edinburgh by 18. Edinburgh had a really shit game against Benetton. So by the law of how Edinburgh are playing, they're going to be world beaters this week because that seems to be their season. Home away, it doesn't matter so much. It's all about whether it's an odd or even round. Then for the derby, I've gone for Scarlets by 5.
He
I haven't copied you. I've had these down. You know me. I do my predictions before the pod. And then I reckon Cardiff will win by 3. But I don't think Scarlets will get a try bonus point. So I said I think they'll only get a 4-point win. And then Ospreys will only get a couple. Yeah, they'll get that losing bonus point.
Mate, you need to spend less time looking at spreadsheets and more time just enjoying life. Because
I enjoy looking at spreadsheets.
We're going together, don't they, Harley?
I don't get to do enough of them in work.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, mate. I'm with you. Right. Okay. So let's wrap it up there then, gents. So, Dan, who have Abertillery got on Saturday? We've got a game.
Yeah, we're at home to Glenavon. So proper going derby there. So looking forward to that one.
Cool. Okay. Best of luck for that one. Game on Sunday with the under-10s?
Yes, Croeso-Ceiliog at home. So, yeah, that's the important one, isn't it? The under-10s, as long as they all have fun and we win.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
It's when you talk to parents, you go, it's all about having fun and winning.
And winning, yeah. Yeah, and it's always your son that does something wrong as well, isn't it? You know, when you're trying to explain, who missed the tackle? Oh, that's my boy. Yeah, there you go.
Well, best of luck for both your sides on the weekend, my friend. Jamie will be back with us next week, and then hopefully Dan will be back with us in a couple of weeks' time. We will be back at normal time next week. Everything will be back to normal next week. I haven't blamed Premier Inn for a failure on website or Wi-Fi or anything like that. So I'll save that for next week. And until then, gents, enjoy your rugby. Have a good one, gents. Cheers.
Best one, guys. Thanks.
That was RAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.